They're talking about trade sanctions, effective or not?
I don't think so. I don't think it will be effective to the extent that North Korea will change attitudes and policy behavior. Yes, it may affect in terms of making their people's lives a little more difficult economically, but that doesn't produce any outcome that we're looking for.
Let me ask you this then. What approach do you take with North Korea? The South is demanding, at the very least, an admission of guilt and an apology.
Well, they're not going to admit the guilt because they believe they didn't do it. So it's so important for us to let them come out, prove their innocence. I mean, in the court, probably you don't have to do it, but when the victim in this case, the criminal in this case, wants to come out and present the case, I think we should listen to them. That's what this dialogue is all about, and we are hoping that the Obama administration will be different from the previous administration in that we engage in a dialogue.
Well, what does this dialogue mean then, Professor Park? Does it mean inviting North Korean investigators to look at that vessel, to look at the evidence?
North Koreans, without invitation, offered that, proposed that they would like to send a team of investigation and examine the evidence and see what they have to say after examining this evidence. And I think we should give at least that. They are saying that South Korea is simply, this is a fake, fabricated, just brought a piece of old junk aluminum and trying to fit all these pieces together. And they were saying actually it was a targeted investigation from the very beginning for the domestic reason, namely the election coming up next week. The South Korean regime, the incumbent party, wanted to provoke anti-North Korean sentiment. That's what North Koreans are saying. That's not entirely baseless, it seems to me. So it is so important that if we want a dialogue, this is the ideal time that we should talk to them.
So this is a real test. If, as Ban Ki-moon has said, you want to address the urgency of the situation on the Korean Peninsula, this is a perfect time to open up the doors and have a discussion instead of just hurling insults.
Absolutely. That insult will not, as I said, produce any consequences. So right now, the United Nations more comprehensive team may get involved. That should include, if you include South Korea, you should include also North Korea.
Because they are accused.
Exactly.
They're accused.
They're accused. You have to hear
and
both
the Chinese,
sides.
Somebody that's ostensibly on their side.
Absolutely.
Now, the Chinese and their role, South Korea's President Lee says he is going to go to the United Nations. Ban Ki-moon says that states there need to take responsible action, live up to their responsibilities in all of this. China's on that Security Council. Which way is China going to lean?
China is not going to this date. China has heard all about the evidence, and China is not conceding that the evidence is not authentic or anything like that, but they're also listening to the North Koreans. So I think it's really time is ripe for the Chinese to come out, North Koreans to come out, maybe under the auspice of the United Nations, put all the chips on the table and see where it goes. In fact, if North Korea is responsible for this and China must go along with that, then the Security Council resolution will carry a great deal of authority, and it may produce more consequences.
Let me ask you this. Given the long history of China backing North Korea, the stubbornness and aggressiveness of the North Korean regime, you've said many times that it's a military-led government. What are the chances that even confronted with direct evidence, they would accept it?
It will be very hard for China, even for North Korea. If they saw all the specific evidence, they have to disprove that that's not what their torpedo looked like. South Korea offered a design of the torpedo, somehow acquired that, and North Korea is saying that's a fake. And it's a time to have a much more higher scientific, more neutral, just for the sake of persuading the parties that are suspicious of this.
Very briefly, you said with elections next week, possibly this was an embarrassing, potentially embarrassing for the government, military bungle. It may have been something that exploded on board that vessel, and they've turned it around. Do you think there's a real possibility of that?
The history will tell. I've seen all the evidence against Saddam Hussein, for example, with all the concrete pictures and evidence. We have seen historically by any number of countries, including the United States. So long history will say. But for now, we have to avert the conflict. The conflict cannot be ruled out at this time. So this is a very important moment of history.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Park.
Thank you so much.